Buckle up. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so Nate's plate here. Let's take a look at our short ribs. Short ribs, you can get these from the butcher. You don't really have to ask them to do any trimming because the fat we're going to be rendering down. We're going to be searing both sides. We're going to do a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. We have our thyme. We're going to use a couple onions, olive oil just for the browning, a good red wine. We're going to do tomato paste, and also you can use some plum tomatoes peeled. A little bit of rosemary, garlic, and smoked paprika. So I hope you can enjoy and follow the steps here. Lots of salt and pepper as well. Your ribs, short ribs rather, on both sides, and also do a little bit of pepper as well on all sides. Coarse salt I really like. I like sea salt because it penetrates the meat quite a bit. So once you have your meat, your short ribs, salted and peppered, seasoned on all sides. This is me, you don't have to do this, but we're getting ready to sear it anyways. I drizzle a little bit of olive oil on top of these bad boys. You can put this in a mixing bowl and mix them all together if you like, but just rub this in. And normally a mixing bowl would be easier, but by hand is fine. And you can hear right now I have my crock pot sizzling, getting warmed up. So that's what I do. Got my crock pot, or my stock pot rather, heating up here. And you're gonna take your short ribs. You're gonna go meat side down on these. We're just gonna brown all sides. We're not gonna crowd the pot. You want that sizzle in there. And just put a couple in there. Make sure they're not touching. It's easier for you to turn and to flip them. Once you do that with all of your meat, set it aside. I'm not ashamed of it. I've tried the water tricks, the matchstick in the thing, doesn't work. So I have my wife's onion glasses because it drives me nuts when I'm cutting onions. But these goggles, oh my gosh. Get you some of these onion cutting goggles. It stops the crying and everything. Oh my gosh, it's the best. Anyway, so what I'm doing is I'm taking my garlic cloves. I got about 4 or 6, cutting them in half. I have an onion here. Chop that up. I took my stock pot. Took the beef out, as you can see. It's all been browned. So I take a little bit more of the olive oil, just sprinkle barely the bottom, barely enough. And I'm gonna add my onions and my garlic into here. And this is where I start the base, what I'm trying to do here. You kind of want to turn the heat down a little bit so it's not really heating up this garlic too fast. Garlic, when it's burnt, will taste bitter. So I'm turning the heat down. But what's going to really help these onions sweat out is when you add some of the salt. And we can add some of the salt that we were seasoning the beef ribs to. Add a little bit of salt. You can add a little bit of pepper at this time. Give that a stir. You're gonna render that down till your onions, like any other dish, get about translucent. About translucent here. Garlic is doing good, it's getting golden. Now you're gonna add your tomato paste. Let that melt down a little bit, not too much. Looks almost dry, that's what you want. And when you see a little bit sticking on the bottom, that's good. It's got all your beef and everything that was browning before. So at this point, you're gonna add your good red wine. So you're gonna make sure this right here, you're gonna crank up your heat a little bit. You're gonna add quite a bit. And that's gonna take everything off the bottom and bring all that good flavoring up to the top. If you don't want to use the red wine, you don't have to. If you have somebody in your family that's sensitive to alcohol, or you just don't want the alcohol in there, the alcohol does burn off because we are going to bring this to a boil. But if you wanted to avoid the alcohol altogether, you can use beef stock. That you're using some San Marzano tomatoes, and you can hand squeeze those and add those into this as well. Your short ribs now. Make sure when you're adding your short ribs, that bone side is turned up. So the meat should be going down. And that way it's submerged. Look here, the bone should be up. And what we're gonna do is render all that down, cook it down. It's gonna soak in all this good flavor, all this goodness. It's gonna boil, the alcohol will boil off. Bone, you want it to turn up. And that's the idea. You've got your short ribs in the pot like so. This is where I add my smoked paprika. You can get multiple different styles. Your local butcher shop may have this. And then I also add rosemary to it. And that's my tomato paste from what we just used previously. And then you want to use the fresh thyme that we mentioned at the beginning. So you can put your thyme in there, and you're gonna wanna submerge all this and kind of stir it around like so. Doesn't have to be submerged all the way, just make sure that your paprika and the thyme is kind of submerged like so. And then we're gonna cover it. Once you have your short ribs in here with the beautiful thyme, the rosemary, your tomato, your red wine, all that goodness, cover it. And don't even think twice about it. Keep it about medium low, medium heat. Ideally, you know, you want this about 300 to 350 degrees. Do this for about 3 hours. Your house will smell amazing. The kids will be coming in from off the streets saying, "What you got to eat?" That's what it is. Almost falling right off the bone. We're gonna slowly bring those right in here. This gets them out of the fat. Some of the fat has rendered to the top. Look how beautiful this is. The meat's falling right off the bone. It's perfect. I've got my little toppings here that we did. Got fresh garlic, parsley, this is a good home comfort meal. This is Nate's Plate beef short ribs. I hope you enjoy.